Hello chess fans! Today's video I want to show you a game I played at a recent tournament. So in this game I was against a 2000, and at this point in the tournament I was 1 of 3. I was having a pretty bad event, so I was really looking to get a victory against the lowest seed in the tournament. So I started off the game with e4, my opponent went for e6, and here in a previous game we had gone for d4, d5, and e5, and I hadn't got a really great position, so I didn't want to go for this again. So instead I decided to go for queen e2, which is what I pretty much do exclusively online, and I've played it a few times over the board as well, and I think it's a highly dangerous weapon. And you might be wondering, why is the title of this video like b3 Sicilian? Well, that's because here my opponent went for c5, and here I played this really weird move, b3, and I think at this point my opponent is completely out of theory. My opponent mentioned to me after the game that they do know of this gambit, which is somewhat similar to this, or sorry, knight c3, knight f6, and now queen e2. So they do have this position, and they were briefly thinking about this. This is called the Papa to Cult Gambit, though I think black's best option here is just not to take the pawn. Just go for like knight f6, and then, okay, this b3 setup doesn't make a lot of sense. So, yeah, so instead of that I went for queen e2. So c5, b3. Now this is not the same idea. I'm preventing d5. And it's sort of not maybe the best line, but it's a line that gets my opponent out of theory and gets myself into a position I'm much more comfortable with. Like, I've played this position maybe like 70 times online at least, so I'm really comfortable with the ideas. Okay, so here my opponent decided to go for knight c6, which is the most logical move, preparing e5, preparing d5, or preparing knight d4 in some positions. I'll go bishop b2, again, putting my bishops on the nice diagonal. And here there's a lot of different plans that black can adopt. The first plan that they can adopt is to go for this move d6, in which case you'll respond with f4. You absolutely cannot allow this e5 move. After here, for example, bishop e7, here, castles, here this is a nice move, castles, and we get a really dynamic game. So that's one of the lines. Another one of the lines that they can go for is this move knight d7, and I think this is much more popular. I think I see this way more often online, and here they'd go for d5, and after it takes, knight takes. There's a lot of different moves here. I think, funnily enough, I think the move that I would play here is g3, with the idea of bishop g2 and then d4, and then it's a nice position. But after this, the engine for some reason recommends h4, which I mean, I can't even begin to understand. There's no pawn on g6. The idea is just to go h4, h5 and play against his. But for example, if like bishop e7, okay, they hang that. So let's say like bishop d7, h5, h6 is not a problem. So just push the h pawn. So that's another idea they have. And yeah, so they decided to go for knight f6, which is, again, a good move. I think this is probably the only way black gets a slight advantage, or maybe black equalized in this position. Here I went for e5. You can also go for this move knight f3, but they've kind of tricked you after d6, because usually I want to play this f4 move, and then here apparently g3, e5 is not so good for white. So we have to go e5 if we want to keep consistent. And also f4 is no longer as good because they have d5. And then if we take, they can take with the knight. So yeah, e5 has to be played. And here after knight d5, I went for this move knight f3, developing my final piece. And yeah, here they went for bishop e7, the most logical move. And in this position, I played the first move where it's not sort of the engine's favorite move, but I think it's the move that I've recommended in my previous videos. I think here there's a lot of different moves. For example, the most recommended move is to go g3, and after castles, bishop g2, something like d6, ed, bishop d, and I don't know, castles. I mean, white's probably slightly better here because my bishops are nicely placed, but it's hard to say. Maybe it's equal, but it's just generally not that attacking. So here I went for this move knight c3, which is a very interesting move, and I think that not a lot of people probably would know this position in the first place, so you're definitely to catch a lot of opponents off guard with this. And here my opponent played a sort of strange move. They decided to take the knight, which is really not at all necessary. I think here what black should really be doing is probably just castling, and there's really no threat. Like, I don't want to take here because then they go d6 and they open up my queen on the file. So on castling, I was definitely going to castle myself. Then here after here takes, something like queen takes. Again, we have opposite side castling, and this is a little bit more interesting than g3 because I can, try to transfer the queen over here to attack, go h4, h5. It's just a very interesting position. So instead my opponent took, which is really, really not that necessary. And here maybe my opponent, I think, was expecting me to take with the bishop, which doesn't really make a lot of sense, right? Because, okay, my bishop now relinquishes control of this diagonal. My d pawn is backwards. But what if I go here? Now your pawn is backwards. And for example, if you castle, I go here. And now this is like a permanent weakness after c4. So we had to go for d5, and they did. And here it's like, I again have to make a decision. Like, what am I supposed to do here? Probably the best move here is not the move I played, actually. I played a pretty bad move. But see if you can think about what the best move is. So the best move is probably to take en passant. Okay, many of you are probably happy because taking en passant is usually like forced. So here after queen takes, one thing I didn't really see is that I could go for this move knight d2. And the point of queen takes is, the reason why they don't take with the bishop is because I really want to castle queenside. So when they take with the queen, they're preventing castles queenside. And then here I didn't really see what to do. Like, what am I supposed to do? And here I'm supposed to try to castle queenside no matter what, with either queen e3, let's say castles and bishop d3, in which case I castle queenside next. Or I think a little bit stronger is the immediate knight d2, and then I'm threatening knight e4 after a sec. Here. And then, for example, like rook d8, h4 g3, bishop g2, and yeah, position is very nice. Yeah, actually maybe queen e3 according to the engine is better. So I really should have played that. I missed this queen e3, bishop d3 idea. And I also missed the knight d2 idea, so both of them would have given me a big advantage. So instead here I castled, which is not a good idea. And I really overestimated my position here. For example, after castles, I think I was really thinking that c4 is a nice move. If they go c3, then... okay, I guess I can't go here immediately because of queen a5, so I have to go king b1 first. And then, okay, let's say they play a move, then c3. So that's what I was thinking, but here they can just ignore me with a move like a6. And then I never want to really take here because I open up their bishop. So instead they went for queen a5, which I thought was a really strange move. I thought was a good move, sorry. Here I went for king b1, and they castled. And here I was actually worried about this move c4. Now it turns out to not be the greatest move, but it's maybe interesting. Idea being after takes, queen takes here, I've blocked in my bishop, and I have these doubled pawns. So I thought this might be interesting. Now it turns out it's not that good. I was afraid of bishop d7 and rook c8, but apparently after queen f4, something like this, rook c8 is just no problem after queen here. So yeah, pretty hard to see at least. So here he castles instead. Now I get c4 off, so I don't allow the c4 move. I also attack the center. He goes d takes here, which this is another move I was surprised at. Here I was really expecting rook d8. I thought this looks most natural because one of the things is I really want to move my queen so that I can get my bishop out. But when he goes rook d8, I can't move my queen, because if I go like queen e3, or maybe I can still move my queen. I was thinking for some reason that there's something to do with this rook hanging, but I guess not. So instead he takes, which I guess I wanted to move my queen anyway. Why did you just force me to do that? And here he went queen b4, which is, again, not a very good move. And here I went queen e2, which I think is a very, very accurate move. My opponent told me after the game that like they were worried about this. But for here, I don't think they have any concrete weaknesses, and I think it's really hard to figure out what I do in this position. One thing to note about these types of positions is usually when you have more space, it's usually difficult to target weaknesses in the endgame. So I don't think this is really the ideal way to play. Here my opponent went for a5. I decided to go for a3. Here and a4, and wait, okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so in this position I played a4 because I don't want to allow a5. My opponent went for rook d8. And here I decided to just trade. Maybe I should go knight d2 with the idea to go knight e4, but I was worried about knight d4 for my opponent. Queen e4, and here bishop d3 comes quickly. So it's likely I should not have traded these pieces. And here I went for h4, and h4 is maybe way too optimistic. Ideally here, maybe I should go for this move queen e4. Reason I didn't go for this because after queen here, if I go here, I just get mated here and then queen b1, and there's no way to stop queen a2 mate. So, or wait, actually... Here, don't I have queen h7? Or queen b1, don't I have queen h7? King takes h7, bishop d3. Oh, there's knight d3. Okay. Yeah, and they win a piece. So yeah, here maybe I got too ambitious. After here, I should go for bishop c1. And then I'm threatening bishop d3, which would win the game. Because let's say they make a nothing move, bishop d3, and then once they take, it's made in two. So they'd have to go back with queen d5. And then here, apparently, I'm supposed to go for the endgame. And this is an improved version of the endgame because they committed these weaknesses. Again, I don't really see how I'm that much better here. Like, it's not clear to me at all. Like, bishop e3, knight b4. They just give up this pawn for some reason. Let's say they defend it with, like, rook c8, rook d1, and now they go b6. Okay, sorry, that's hanging. bishop e8, okay, g3, b6, like, yeah, they have no reason to give up that pawn. The engine just, for some reason, holds by giving up the pawn. So I really don't see how I had any advantage there. So I decided to go for this really aggressive move, h4, and I was really, really hoping that my opponent would fall for the trick, and they did. b6. I thought this was a very natural move, but I thought this was a natural move that h4 sort of prevents, which is just so weird. Like, how does h4 prevent b6? I think that's a really advanced idea, and what part of what I thought this makes this game really cool. So really here my opponent, the main move I was looking at is knight b4, and here I have to go c3 attacking the knight, and then here I thought my opponent would just go back. And then here basically by getting this move c3, they've blocked my bishop, and they've also forced me to play this move c3, which is not really ideal. So here I was going to go for queen here now, because after queen here I have king a2. Then there's no longer knight b4 threats, and after here, I mean, okay, I have some sort of attack. And I thought this was more natural, but I didn't really see how I'm breaking through here. For example, even if they play a move like bishop d7 and I take, like where's my breakthrough? I didn't really see it. And here apparently knight e1 is really good for me. I didn't really see this at all. But yeah, the idea is like this bishop does a really good job preventing my queen from coming in. Like queen a4 looks more natural to me here, but then after here takes, or sorry, not takes there. Takes here, and then you have a draw. Wow. Yeah, so there's a lot of threats here. So I was really worried about that, but instead they went for b6, which is a really nice move because see if you can find the winning move for white here. I mean, it's pretty much only one move that really makes any sense, so should be fairly obvious. The move is knight g5. And the idea is we're putting pressure here and here, and we're also allowing our queen to have several different forks. So, or not queen d3, so like queen e4 with this fork, or queen h5 with this fork. So there's two forks, and black cannot defend against both of them. Takes, now there's this fork again, and this is not even a fork, it's just impossible to defend this. So here apparently, after takes here, they can hold this position. This position is not completely losing for them, which is just really hard to believe. My opponent didn't go for that. They went for g6 after like a 20-minute think, which is just really weird. Here I was expecting this move queen e8, and the idea is you're sort of defending against two of the forks. Here I was planning to go for this move queen e4 here and h5, and knight takes h7. After king h7, h5, I thought I was just completely winning. Now, it's actually not that simple, because, for example, after here, takes, you might think, wait, how do I actually even break through? I just thought I'd just have enough compensation, something like this, rook h6, and yeah, position should be very nice. Maybe even rook h6 right away is not possible because of king g7. So, yeah, I just kind of saw I have full compensation here. So that's what I was mainly worried about, and bishop g5 is the line of the engine. But my opponent played g6, which is like, this is like the first thing I calculated didn't work because of just knight takes f7. And then after here, after king takes f7, there's just a fork. Check, and we pick up the knight. And then here we just want a clean pawn. So instead my opponent went queen d5, knight h6, and yeah, here my conversion was really, really sloppy. I think that I allowed my opponent way too much counterplay. Here I really should go for this move knight d6, which I wanted to go for, but after takes, here I was worried about this move bishop a6, attacking the queen, and then for example here, takes, I really just did not evaluate this correctly. Like, I'm not even up a pawn, but apparently it's +3. I'm not really sure how. Like rook d1, queen e7, and h5, like I just have a huge attack somehow. Yeah, it wasn't clear to me at all in the game. So instead of that, I went for knight h6 here and knight g4 with the idea to go knight e3, and then all my stuff is defended. But yeah, I really allowed him way too much activity here with this move knight d4, queen e1. Again, queen e1's a bad move, but I was worried that if I go for queen e3, there's like knight f5 with tempo, and then if I go like queen d2, I don't even know why I didn't play queen d2. I think I was worried that I don't know, I did not even see queen d2 at all. Yeah, I guess I completely missed queen d2. Or maybe again I was worried about here. Then if I take, this is like completely unclear. So I went queen e1 here, and here I went for this move f3, and it's just really annoying because I really, really, really want to play this move knight e3, but it just hangs this pawn. And another thing I want to do is I really want to move this bishop, but again I want to go bishop d3, but then he just takes here. And the final thing I want to do is I wanted to go bishop c4, but he can, okay, wait. There's some move I'm thinking about. Yeah, there's some times where like just pretend I go rook g1 or something. He has this move queen e4. And then while at first it looks like, wait, why does he want to trade pieces? Here, notice it's incredibly difficult to defend this pawn. Like if I go bishop d3, he can just take, and then take here. So those are the three ideas I wanted to do. I wanted to move my bishop, and I wanted to prevent queen e4. So I go for f3. My opponent went for h5, attacking my knight. And here I went for knight f2, which is again really a bad move. I really should have gone for knight f6 here. And then after bishop takes, if he takes with the king here, apparently after queen d2 with queen g5 ideas, with c3, c4 ideas, I'm just completely winning. Which I completely missed this idea. Instead, I go here, which looks natural, preserving my extra pawn, but really getting the bishop pair was really important there. And here my opponent goes b5. Very, very, very good move. I think my opponent is very much fighting back here. And yeah, my opponent also has like a minute here while I have like 20 minutes. So I really should have not made this game so complicated. Here I took. And after it takes, I have this nice fork with c4. And the idea is, if I take right away, he has a4. And then if I go c4 now, like queen d8, he's getting a lot of counterplay. So yeah, I have to take here. Takes, go c4, queen d8. Takes, yeah, maybe I should have taken here. It's really hard to say. But getting this bishop, getting the c file open turned out to be a problem for me rather than the a file, which is really weird. I just find this weird that the c file is the problem, not the a file. Like a file is easy to cover because I can go queen c2 and the king is actually safe on c2. While when I take this way, my opponent took, c file actually becomes dangerous because my king can't go to c2. It has to go to a2 and then a2 is more airy. So here I went queen c2. I'm preventing c4 for the time being. Bishop d5, rook d1. Now if c4 I just take, and then if he takes I just take because he's pinned. So instead of that, he went queen c7, rook c1, and it's important to note that my opponent has like literally 5 seconds here, I think, like 30 seconds, and we have 30 seconds increment. So my opponent is literally just playing on the clock. They went c4, which is a very, very good move. And yeah, here I went into the tank. I spent like 15 minutes, and I really can't find a good option for me. So I took, and here I went for queen e4, and my opponent went queen c5, which again I had missed this move completely. And the idea is to go here. And here I have a really, really nice winning move. So see if you can take a few seconds to find white to move and win. There's only really one move that convincingly wins the game. Pretty much almost every move you play actually wins the game. Just anything that doesn't just outright blunder is probably winning. But here there's a very, very nice move, b6. And the idea is we're going b7 next, and this bishop is just pinned. And there's nothing they can do. If they go here, we just take the bishop. And what else can they do? They can't move the bishop. They can't move the rook. They can move the queen here, but then we just, win the rook. So they have to keep the queen, guarding the rook, guarding the bishop, and probably covering this b7 square, which is like queen c6 is the only way to do it. But then we can take, and go here, and then we're winning this too. So yeah, the only move here maybe is queen d5, and then after takes, e6 check, king goes back, and I don't know, rook takes c4 actually is apparently completely winning here because bishop e5, there's no way to stop this. So that would have been nice to see, but yeah, I got really scared here, and I end up playing this move, queen d4, which actually almost completely blunders the game. So this move is, I would consider it a triple question mark move because I just got lucky. In the game, I'm so lucky that I'm not losing here all of a sudden. But here, take a few seconds to see if you can find the move that looks to be winning for black. Now, apparently it's not actually winning for black at all, but bishop a2 just looks like completely killer because after takes, black goes up the exchange. And there's literally nothing I can do about it. Like, I have to take here. It's my only move. If I go here, then he just takes, and, now this is just down a tempo on that other position. So I have to take. And then after takes, I can't throw in this check at all. I can't throw in this because he's up a queen. So I have to take here, and now he goes here. And I'm so lucky I'm still winning here. Here, the move that I was calculating is king b2. And then here, I thought he would go rook c4. And then here, after bishop here, I still thought I was probably winning. Because after takes here, it's really difficult to guard this pawn. After like king here. I still thought I might be winning, but it's very, very unclear. And instead of that, rook c8 is more challenging. I didn't even see rook c8 at all. I was only thinking about rook c4. And then here, apparently, king b3, king f8, and I win by like one tempo, basically. Like king e7 or something, bishop takes a5, rook c1, bishop c3, and I'm just barely winning here. Like, this would have been impossible to win, I think, probably with low time. But instead of that, I was like, wow, I can't believe I blundered that. And my opponent had 10 seconds here. My opponent had 30 seconds because they were just playing on the increment, and then they blundered the whole game away with king f8. And here I was like, Phew, like I don't have to calculate that ridiculous endgame. And yeah, just really, really lucky at the end. But after takes, now bishop a3. And I think my opponent actually resigned on queen takes c5 because they saw bishop a3 coming. So yeah, that was the end of this game. I think it was a really nice illustration of a lot of different ideas that can come out of this very interesting line with b3. Notice you can also get this from this move order. Here, b3, and here if they go e6, you can play queen e2. Now notice this might be a little bit worse against the Sicilian because b3, here they can go for knight c6. They don't have to commit to here. And after bishop b2, they can go for e5. And this is sort of one of the setups that gives us problems, especially in the e6 line. So now they just got up a tempo because they didn't have to go e6, e5. They just went e5 right away. So yeah, that's the end of today's video, guys. If you like this video, please remember to leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.